Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this second Astley Media Project Positivity webinar. The idea behind these discussions is to highlight ways in which individuals and organisations are facing up to the coronavirus and this awful situation we find ourselves in. And this week, our guests, I'm pleased to say, all hail from the world of rugby. So we have someone who's being a prop forward for the world of property. It's Moray Lowe. Morning, Moray.
Morning.
Former winger who's passing on his skills to the next generation, and you must check out his Facebook videos. They're absolutely fantastic. Jess. Hi, Jesse.
Morning.
A former back row forward or flanker, whichever you choose, who's now turned professional coach. That's Julian Salvi. Morning, Jules.
Morning. Morning, Marc.
And a fan's favourite, still very much at the top of his game. That's Gareth Steenson. Morning, Gareth.
Good morning.
So yeah, thanks guys for joining us. So most of you have sort of different interests now. Moray, you retired last year and entered the world of property. One of your ventures is a property development company with your mate Julian there, and you just put your first property on the market when coronavirus hit. What effect has that had, and how are you sort of facing up to that challenge?
Yeah, obviously, firstly, thanks for having us on. Myself and Julian started the business, and it's been a real up and down journey along the way. Learned a lot on the process of it all from start to finish, and we're coming to the end of legacy for the bungalow that we just finished, and had a sale lined up, which was obviously good for us to looking to then move on to the next project, and then hit by the coronavirus, and now we're in a position where the party is still interested in the property, but we're putting a lot of processes in place to kind of not batten down the hatches, but just while we're going through lockdown to be in a position so we can come out stronger really afterwards. And we've done a bit of videoing, do a virtual tour to try to put it and keep promoting the property while we're there, and yeah, just trying to get everything in place really so we can come out the other side stronger.
And Julian, I mean, has it been more difficult, you think, because you haven't got a huge amount of experience in the world of property, or do you think that naivety might have helped a little bit?
No, look, I think the values and I suppose the attitudes we brought from rugby across, there's a lot of transitional skills there. There's a lot of setbacks that you get in rugby throughout your career, and coming to the property world, you're going to be hit with certain things. And we've, like Murray sort of alluded to, we've learned plenty over the course of the last 2 years, which has put us in pretty good stead. And like I said, we've battled through things on the rugby field, and we're going to battle through the things on the property side. But we've grown, we've developed as people just through this course of the journey, and this is just another one of those challenges that we're facing at the moment. And we've learnt along the way, and we're just trying to do our best in the scenario that we're faced with.
Okay, what would you say is the top 3 things you've taken from your time in rugby that you've applied to the business that you're in now?
Well, I think if you've got to be patient with things. Do you know what I mean? Like things aren't just going to happen all of a sudden. And we've had to apply some of that patience to the property world. Relying on a team. Everyone's got their own roles and responsibilities in the team sets from rugby. So then sort of bring that across and making sure that we put together the best team that we can sort of put together and sort of bring that to the property side of things. And then just that work ethic. A lot of planning preparation goes into a week, into a season, into the course of 2 or 3 years in terms of getting the right personnel in and guys coming in, guys coming out. Same with on the property side of things is, the better we are for planning for certain things or preempting certain scenarios that might be coming. Yes, we couldn't do it with COVID, but we've put enough sort of things in place that we think we should be able to work through these sort of scenarios.
Brilliant. Thanks, Jules. And Gareth, you've also got a business. Most people who know you and know the world of rugby will be familiar with the Standoff. Again, a relatively new venture. was going great guns, lots of live music, lots of sport, often packed and busy, and then all of a sudden you have to shut the doors. What was that like?
Well, obviously, with the business we were in a scenario where we were trying to promote people to come, and there was a bit of a morale sort of. We didn't really know if it was the right thing to be trying to promote people to come out to our place whenever the government had turned around and said this is not the sort of thing we should be doing. It was obviously very disappointing because, you know, we were basing a lot of our time this year was about Six Nations coming around, and the Six Nations coming with a new menu about ready to launch. We were just starting to get known, like you said, for live music in the centre of town. But, you know, it's one of those things that we can't really control any of those scenarios. We can only control the situation we were in. And I think whenever we were finally told that the doors had to be shut was probably the best thing for us, because we didn't really feel comfortable asking people to come out and socialise when we were told to keep social distancing.
And how about just little things like, you know, fridges full of food and communicating with the staff and people expected to work and not being able to? As somebody new to the world of business, how did that pan out?
It was okay, actually, because I think there's a real understanding that everybody sort of understood what was going on. We were kind of in a scenario before the furlough was sort of talked about. We had made decisions about 2-3 days before about potentially going a different direction. And actually, whenever that came out from the government, was actually a real blessing for us. So we were able to, and we only have 5 full-time staff, and then the rest of our guys tend to be part-time working behind the bar. And we were able to sort these guys out really well, and we're obviously not thrilled at the situation we're in, but you know, we're in a position where hopefully that we can sustain this and survive it and come out the other end.
And Julian talked about some of the lessons he learned from rugby that he's applied to business. Is there anything you've learned over the last few weeks that you'll take onto the field?
It's very similar. It's exactly the same sort of things Julius touched on. It's the same thing probably all the lads we talk about, is the teamwork aspect. You know, we all have a goal. We're all set out with a goal at the start of the year whenever we play rugby, and it's to win trophies or whatever it is. And then it's about how you go and produce that. So you get the individuals within the team to perform, and then whenever the team, you get the best performance out of an individual, you get the best result for the team. And that's basically what we tried to apply whenever Carl Rimmer's in there as well, working on. You know, we all understand that we all have different strengths, and understanding that what one fella can do well and someone else can do something. You know, it's just putting everything in the right position and making sure you have a common goal that you're trying to drive for. And we've kind of tried to do that with Standoff. We've tried to say what we want to be. We want to see ourselves as the clubhouse of the city, and it's taken us, I would say, about a year to realise that. And we've kind of now got to a point, like I said before, just literally before this COVID happened, we were in a good place, and hopefully we'll be in a good place when we come back.
Good stuff. And Matt, you've been in business for a couple of years now, coaching mainly. A lot of what you do clearly involves being around people, and again during the lockdown, that's impossible. How have you adjusted?
Yeah, so I think rugby stopped sort of like second week in March, when I think I went out to Farnham, and I did I must have coached around about 160 children like throughout the day, and it was just before kind of COVID kind of stopped rugby completely. And yes, sort of like since then it's been pretty difficult, because you know, you have to go in with one-to-one coaching. You know, you have to be in the vicinity of obviously the client and potentially their parents. You know, your junior coaching, if I was going to a club to junior coach, you know, you'd be, you know, with 26 kids plus the coaches, and exactly the same if I was going down with my with the professional club down in Cornwall. You know, that's kind of obviously had to stop. So it's been pretty difficult. And I think you've just got to try and find ways of obviously keeping the rugby aspect up. And I think kind of for me, I found that through essentially through the power of social media. So I think the videos, videos you can put out there, the tweets that you can put out there, whatever, can just keep people interested, because everyone wants that. I think Stino mentioned the common goal. Everyone wants that common goal. Everyone wants to get through this and get playing rugby. You know, these guys get coaching rugby. Jules, and the same with me. You know, we want to be out there on the pitch. That's where we thrive, and that's where we want to be. So it's kind of just finding ways of not say passing the time, but keeping that rugby relevance throughout this whole sort of COVID epidemic.
Yeah, and you've really used social media really well, I think, and you know, it's something you started, you know, maybe a year ago, doing on a regular basis. Has that put you in a good position, do you think, that social media experience that you've had?
Yeah, I think so. And like, I think some of it's funny, isn't it? When you actually get into the crux of it, it doesn't take you long to put the video sort of like together. You know, the ones that I do, you know, sort of like not necessarily the rugby ones, but even like the fitness element ones. I think people, obviously, you know, people have to stop going to gym. So it's like, well, how can we start to get people interactive at home using, you know, steps, for example. I did a session just using steps. And it's like, you know, I think people then start to realise you can start doing stuff. You know, Stino's been a good advocate of that in terms of what he's doing at home, even without equipment, just watching somebody on TV. And I think people then can start to pick up these things and go, actually, this is pretty easy, and they start to enjoy it. I think what they can then do is then they can start to put it into their schedule. So they get up at, say, 8 o'clock in the morning, and maybe before they didn't do a session at 8 o'clock in the morning, but, you know, potentially they're off work, so they can actually do that 15-30 minute workout. And to be fair, you know, doing workouts or doing anything sort of like physically, I think you speak to anybody, it sets off the endorphins in your brain and certainly puts you into a nice positive spin throughout the rest of the day. So I think that's a big way that I've been trying to use it, and, you know, getting people out there and either thinking about trying to do something physical, but also just keeping active as well. I think that's really, really important.
I think it's a really good point Jesse's made there about scheduling. I think scheduling's, you know, as all four of us would be well aware, when you get a schedule, we get a schedule for a week whenever we train and play rugby, and sticking to that is kind of what we go by. And I think having that sort of schedule, especially at this time, you know, you can find it very easily. You can slip into a mode where I'm going to lie in bed to maybe 10 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock in the morning, you know, when you kind of lose the day. Whereas if you kind of stick to what your schedule might be, say, right, I'm going to do an exercise here, I'm going to work here at this time. You know, actually homeschooling is really quite a good thing with kids, because they actually give you a straight out, this is what, 9 o'clock in the morning, there's your lesson, 10 o'clock, there's your lesson. So I think that's really important. And I know Jesse's done a lot of work on mental health and all these sorts of things as well. And I think that just sort of gets you through the day. I know I find when I get to about 8 or 9 o'clock, like, I haven't watched the TV throughout the day, because I've literally been on the go with the kids, or I've been exercising myself. And it's actually put me in a state where actually, you know, this is a difficult time, but I feel like I'm getting a lot out of it. You know, I feel like I'm actually, hopefully, whenever this all settles, I'll be in a better position than when I was whenever I went into it. So it's all about trying to give yourself little goals and little things, and the schedule is fantastic to have. And I think that's a really good point that Jesse's made there.
I think the weather's helped as well. You know, it's been bright, so people wanted to get out and be vibrant in it, and I suppose enjoy the sun whilst it's out. So I think, like you said, you know, the schedule's been great even for us. Well, I've got 3 kids. I've got a 15-year-old that I've got to, you know, make sure that he's doing his lessons and not spending all day gaming. So that's been fun for him, just to make sure that he's
joining them.
Hey?
You must be joining them, surely.
Well, we do a bit of gaming, don't get me wrong, yeah. But then obviously we've got the 2 young girls who are keeping me busy, and we're doing our ABCDs and, you know, enjoying going back to that level of education. So that's been, you know, quite enjoyable, and testing at times as well.
Yeah, and I think that's a really interesting point you both make about scheduling, because a lot of rugby players I speak to who retire and move on to do different things find that lack of regimentation really difficult, being told where to turn up, what to do, how to train, when to finish, what to eat, all those things. All of a sudden, you can choose to do what you like. And a bit like being in the army, I think, some people really struggle with that. So I guess this period now, because it's not a proper holiday, it's not your 5-week break during the summer, could be quite easy, as Gareth said, to slip in some bad habits.
Yeah, just on that, like a really good point from Marc, but I struggled massively, like when I sort of like come out of it, because as these boys will know, you're told basically what to eat, how to dress, what time's your session, and what time's the day finish, and like, you know, once your day finish, you know, you can go and, you know, have your family time, but And this is where I got to. I really struggled when I came out, and I kind of like didn't know where I fitted in, or I kind of tried to put a schedule in, but I wasn't diligent with it. And then you start to put, and like scheduling doesn't have to be, so anybody listening, doesn't have to be like to the hour, but like it could be, right, 8 o'clock I'm going to get this done, by 11 o'clock I want this done, by 1 o'clock I want this done, and then like all those little goals which I think we've all talked about, you start ticking them off, and then actually, because you can go through the day and you go, actually I've been really unproductive, and actually look back at that schedule, a couple of notes, and you go, yeah, that's been ticked, that's been ticked, that's been ticked. Yeah, I've seen it. You can look back at what you've done, and you've had a productive day. And I think that, again, that can help the mindset as well, especially in these testing times.
Yeah. And I guess also, one of the things that you guys thrive on is that community that you have, that very tight-knit friendship. You often socialize together, you play together, you train together. That must be really strange all of a sudden, not being part of that, and knowing again that it's not your 5-week break, but being separated from that family effectively.
Sometimes it's nice to get away from Julian.
I on a weekly basis, I see you more than my wife. It's a bit hard for me not to see you every day, Stino. You know that.
But Murray, how do you? Is that something?
Yeah, I was going to say, obviously, coming away from that environment, from the rugby environment, these guys are, when they're in training and when their time is off, when they have their days off, there's days that probably me and Jesse would be working, and in the weekends now, I have my weekends back. The 15 years of rugby, you never have the weekends to give to the family. Now you do, whereas a lot of these guys will have their work on the weekends, playing on a Saturday or traveling away for games and stuff. And during the week, we get a day off during the week when we're in the rugby time, but we'll be working. And I still see some of the guys when you go in the morning, we're going to the gym. We're bumping into a few of them then, when they're probably having their coffee breaks between sessions. But no, it's great to see that, and to let the viewers know. Obviously, myself now working with Thomas May Land and Planning. After retired in June, I met with Will Smith from Complete, who's introduced to me by Chris Bentos. Used to work at the club, and he helped buy my first house, and got really interested in the line of work he was in with the land and planning side, from buying a plot in the garden to up to 200 unit site right across the southwest. Himself and Kevin Ellis set up the Land from the Land and New Homes Network, set up Thomas May Southwest, and offered me that job to come in and to train me right the way through that. So that's given me a real passion and something to kind of start again at. So, I remember first starting as a rugby player in the academy, and you got the opportunity, you had that drive to really achieve and to reach the top. And now I'm into a new topic, a new industry where I'm really new to it. And it's all about learning that. And I've got that drive to try and be successful in that industry. And they've been great for us in training me up. And again, dealing with scheduling, making sure on time of meetings, getting reports in, and, putting stuff in a diary, simple things like that are just, they would just be quite normal for them, but for us to adapt to that, and it's been good fun really. But working with him, we had a lot of sites coming through, which, as Jesse touched on, actually meeting people was part of our job, and we go out and meet landowners, and that's taken a bit of a stumble and a box. Obviously, governments put restraints on what we can do, but for us, it's just about using that time effectively. We've been, as I said, I'm new to the industry, so I've used this time to contact every developer in the Southwest, find out the requirements, what they're looking for, how we can help them during these times while, one, they can't sell properties, and how we can help, align that up, whether it's through bulk deals with housing associations, investors, looking into strategic land, and introducing myself and the business and what we can offer and how we can help them. And Will, speaking to them last week, he contacted every vendor on his books to make sure they're okay. Can they help them in any way? And just little touches like that. And it's been really rewarding for us, and it's actually helped us get a lot of business through that as well. So just to touch on the point that Steve and the guys made, just about that, talking and different roles within the business. One of our main core values of business is collaborate to accumulate. And that, for me, for the rugby time, I was there to push and to lift the line out. Julian was there to put his head in ugly positions and get bumps and bruises and give away penalties. Stino was there to kick the goals. Jesse there to score the tries. But it's just everyone had a different skill set and a different role to put in to drive results. And I've really tried to push that in the business with Thomas May to try and say, well, look, in the property industry, we've got architects, you've got developers, you've got builders. Try and work alongside them to kind of drive results. And, you know, we got introduced to the site by an architect, and we managed to then put the deal together to bring a developer in to buy that site, but obviously tie that architect in to do the detailed drawing. So it got him more business, brought business to us, and it just kind of working together really, and it really drove us forward. And as a business, you know, it's just started off. And, you know, speaking with Kevin, who does a lot with Land and New Homes Network, he set up it was quite an interesting thing. He's called it the 2% In, which is every Friday, 5 o'clock. We have a Zoom call meeting where all the agents come in, developers, everyone just comes in, has a chat, see how their week's been, offer some advice on what they're doing differently. And he set up this Zoom pub that is quite a good one. That maybe the standoff should probably like to do a little Zoom pub night or something like that one of these days.
We have thought about it, Marc. We have thought about it.
Yeah, so I just things like that has obviously helped us massively. And just, you know, I'm still at the starting phase of this and learning well, but, you know, the guys have helping us out massively, and we're trying to help developers in every way we can to try to go through these difficult times, really.
Sure. And I imagine, Gareth, social media has been invaluable for the boys staying in touch and keeping that banter going, and, you know, just feeling like you're still connected.
Yeah, completely. I think our S&C side have actually been really good with us. They've once we heard that we were going into lockdown and staying at home, we basically went in and everybody raided the gym. So anything in the gym that wasn't bolted to the floor has now been passed around everybody's house. And the S&C have been brilliant. They ended up putting a little group together, a little WhatsApp group, where all the lads now every single day will put up what they're training, what they're doing, little videos, little messages to encourage each other. And I think it just kind of keeps us kind of together. So we're getting to see what everybody's doing, and it's really been quite useful. I know for a fact that, you know, there'll be mornings where you get up and you're like, oh, I'm not feeling it today, and you might look up and somebody's been on a walk bike and done, I don't know, 20 kilometers, and you're sitting there going, right, well, let's get motivated, let's go and do it, you know. So everybody's pushing each other, which is good, because I know Julian's not on it, which is great. You know,
all the tests.
Huh?
All the tests.
All the tests, right? Yeah, completely. But look, it's been good. You know, it's that positive sort of feel that we are all in this together. You know, and I think, I know at the standoff we've got our own little WhatsApp group as well, which we're communicating with one another. But it's not all about business; it's about banter, and we're trying to keep everyone's spirits up. And I think that's really important at the minute, because you turn on the television and all you see is bad news. And that's, you know, that's one of the big reasons I don't watch the TV. You know, my wife, she's out working in the GP surgery, and she comes home, and, you know, we don't want to talk too much about, you know, how she's been handling. Obviously, find out how her day was, but we come in and we put on The Hunted, or we put on something that's just really simple to sit and watch. You know, and there is a lot of negative news at the minute, and just we need a bit of positivity going around, which is what we're trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, one of the reasons we're doing these webinars is, you know, exactly for that reason, just to talk to people about how they are approaching this in a positive way. You know, it's not great, we all know that, but there are some really interesting and unusual things coming out of it. And, you know, I think the way we work going forward will be very different from now on. Do you think it might change the dynamic, Gareth, in the team? Do you think things will be different because of what's happened and the way you're communicating now?
Not so much, not really, because we kind of communicate like that anyway. Like, there's times when we're sitting in the changing room, and that's the way guys don't talk to each other, or sitting on their phone texting each other. So that's not really, you know, completely out of the ordinary. I think it's been quite good from the fact that, you know, it's been good for motivation wise. So the actual getting behind one another and, you know, really pushing each other on has been really good. And I really think when we do finally come back in together, we'll have had that bit of time. So yes, we obviously haven't been together, but we are very much in communication with one another very regularly, probably maybe even more so. So it mightn't be a bad thing. We'll have to see when we finally come back in. It's been nice, like I said, not to be looking at Julian as much. So that's obviously a positive.
I suppose when we do eventually get back, the energy and the energy and the boat.
That first meeting Julian's going to give us is going to be, you know, what, about 2-3 hours long, is it?
Sleeping. Is he still circles in his book when he's talking?
I had to make sure I had 4 espressos for Julian coming on just after listening to him.
we've got it down to a fine art. We're about 8 minutes per meeting. It's lovely, under the 10-minute mark. It's good, keeping you guys energized and entertained.
But that's a good thing. Julian's starting to listen to the feedback that he's getting. So finally,
this thing is key. It's the vital part of communication, Gareth, as we've spoken about before. You've got to be able to listen to the info that's sort of passed on, the feedback that the boys want. I'm just trying to look after you guys.
Message, Julian, positive message.
So moving on to to life at the club or life not at the club. How is that sort of panning out at the moment? Any ideas on what may happen going forward?
Again, it's a bit of unknown in terms of when we're actually going to be allowed back in. Again, I haven't watched too much, but until this lockdown is over, it's going to remain like this for a bit. What we've got to understand is once the season does start kick up again, you can't expect guys to go straight into playing. It's just not something that is going to be a viable option. You're going to have to get, despite all the training that's going on, they're not going to be rugby fit. So you're going to almost have a mini pre-season again, and probably another AST for some of those guys. So the guys that are on this, yes, I dare say there'll be an AST for you guys the first week back. So a nice little bit of testing. But
it's no hamstring that week.
Well, mate, you've been in the game a long time, so you understand why you've done a hamstring that way.
For those listening, what's an ASC, Julian?
That's the old classic Murray Lowe, that one.
It isn't Murray Lowe tactic.
I'm taught you well, Stino. Taught you well.
Push boy. I just bend over and push that.
Yeah, that's it, mate. I'm not there to run.
The AST is sort of just the standard testing that we do at the beginning of every season and halfway through. I think they do a second one just to see how well you've improved over the course of the pre-season before you hit your straps. So it sort of gives us a good mark, a good grounding of where the boys are from a fitness point of view, really. So look, the guys are going to have to have a good sort of 3 weeks of training before we play games again. And I know there's been a few things being thrown around, but what you'll probably see is potentially some midweek games. But there's a real endeavour and a real sort of energy to get the season finished, and that's obviously driven from the top down. But again, until we're given the green light, it's just a wait and see game at the moment. But there's a real buzz and energy to get cracking again at some stage.
I think with that, it's going to be pretty difficult because I think a lot of people are going to see, boys training, professional rugby players still training, which I think is amazing, which is great, obviously. And they're going to be wanting to go on the pitch. It's that player welfare, though, isn't it? I think that's got to be thought about. And it's not just, look, you've been training, we'll just chuck you on the pitch and these are your patterns of play, and you can go on to it. Because there's been such a big break. The coaches, Jules, yourself, you're going to have to get back. The boys, the players, Stino, you're going to have to come back in. You've got to try and, those spacings that you've worked on. Have they gone a bit bigger in defence? Have they gone a bit small? Has everyone still got those? The thought process. So it's not a case of just going back in, is it? It's more so, player welfare, making sure boys are run ready, rugby ready, contact ready, and then you're having to look to play games, aren't you?
Yeah, well, it's going to be a fast-track pre-season, which, during a normal pre-season, you've got 8 weeks. To compact that down into 3 weeks, you're going to, there's certain elements of that you're going to have to be wary of. Again, there's a lot of, you're going to have to be careful of your training workload because usually on a standard week, you have a set limit. Do you know what I mean? But then in pre-season, it's probably extended by a bigger range just so you've got that level under your belt before you play. But in the course of trying to get all that sort of kilometres into your system, all those Ks under your belt in the space of 3 weeks, it's going to be one of those tough asks. It's going to rely on everyone buying into what needs to be done to make sure, we get the last 10, 11 games before semi-finals and finals. So we're well prepared for that, leading into that. So,
is the word from the top that they're going to try and finish the season, lads?
That's the goal, yes. And then obviously what comes in line with that is potentially contract issues.
Yeah.
So I saw an article yesterday about Johnny Gray potentially being available for us as of 1st of July. Do you know what I mean?
Really good Scotsman.
But then you've got on the other side, you've got potentially Sam Hill, who's going to the Sharks. So Sale, does that mean he can play for them despite the season not finishing? So there's a lot of, not issues is probably the wrong word, but there's a lot of things in and around that need to be looked at. And how that works and how that pans out is still a bit unknown.
I think it's a really interesting sort of predicament in a way, because you say, for example, one player goes and they switch in that over that really short period. Like usually pre-season, you get to teams get to change tactics, don't they? You get to kind of tweak a little bit of your attack or tweak a little bit of your defence, or you get 6 to 8 weeks of bringing something new in. Coach, you as coach, I suppose, I'm not saying that you are going to change anything, Jules, but there's not huge amounts of time to try and change something if they're going to carry on the season. So that's going to be really, really interesting, because somebody's going to know how you play, how, effectively how Steenson might be setting up a move or whatever. And it's going to be a real good test of coaching as well, I think.
Yeah, well, I think you're going to be limited in terms of trying to, change big elements. What you're going to have to focus on is on your strengths. And to make that sort of part of your game. But again, if they're, and what they're sort of potentially talking about is having midweek games. If you play on a Saturday, you have your Sunday off. You might be able to do a little bit Monday, but boys are still going to be sore. Travel Tuesday, potentially play Wednesday. Do you know what I mean? So you're going to have to simplify the process without actually bringing something massive or having these big sort of changes in your game, because it's just not going to be possible. You're also going to have to rely on the depth of your squad. Do you know what I mean? Because you can't envision the same 22 guys that potentially might be playing on the Saturday to be available to play again on the Wednesday, and then another game on the Saturday. So you're going to it's going to have to be worked out quite smartly how we sort of manage these games.
Steno's durable, he'll be fine, mate.
Hey,
I said Steno's durable, he'll be fine. Saturday, Wednesday.
we did.
As long as I don't have to train, no problem.
We did speak about
you can come in for 3 months.
Yeah, we get the old boys back. Old boys back for the midweek games. What about that?
Anyone over 30 can come back for the midweek games.
Match fee?
Jesse's
involved, yeah.
Jesse's available, mate.
Yeah, like GPs, yes, bringing back retired GPs, which you do that former players. So here's a question: if we were to do that, we'll go around. Which 3 players would you invite back, Julian?
You gotta bring back Kai. That's good.
Hello.
Hey.
I'd bring. You need a. Well, you loose head or a tight. You can play both.
Mate, I'm a hybrid, mate. I'm both, mate. It's that crap club.
And
really
I suppose you do need a finisher, so we'd bring back Jesse.
Stop it.
Yeah, but I've seen him tear up in a few testimonial games. These sort of games that you play at 60% and have a bit of a laugh, and you've got test match Jesse still running around scoring.
Whoa! You're the one that's bringing in the big shots, mate.
Only when someone annoys me and does enough just to rattle me. That's when I start.
Every 2 minutes.
Oh, that's not my fault then.
Kai, Jesse, who else? Kai, Jesse, who else?
Sorry, who else would I bring in?
No, so that's Julian, number 3. Who's the third?
I said Muzz.
Oh, you said Muzz. Sorry, I missed that. Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks, Jules.
Let's not forget Muzz. Muzz is all right, mate.
So Matt, Jess, who would your 3 nominees be?
Oh, it's got to be recently retired though, isn't it? So I think TJ's got some work in those legs. Do you think?
Yeah, no, probably does.
I'd definitely bring back Muzz, just recently out of the game, absolutely, get him in there. Also, the lines that Muzz runs, unreal.
No one's seen it like it at the club since.
Has anyone seen the Muzz's highlight reel from the test from his trip to, where was it, Muzz?
Yes.
The little cat flip you did down that line.
Yeah, I know, yeah. Still talking about
speed on your Muzzer by the speed. I thought it was Jesse run down the wing leg. Thought about it.
So TJ, Muzzer, who else?
Just trying to think who's recently.
Yeah.
Let's bring back the goat. Why not? Bit of farmer strength.
Yeah, good shot.
Rich
And the
Baxter.
goat, for those who don't know,
Baxter. Yeah, bring Rich Baxter out, just roll him out. Rob, I think Rob's only next door, so you can have a quick word with him. Any chance?
and Muzz, how about you?
Obviously Jesse first of all, and then I'll probably bring back Ben White for a bit of banter in the change room. Joe,
Yeah,
I think
morale.
Whitey's a hell of a
Morale.
character, and that would cheer the boys right up to have him in there.
I love him, man.
I'd love to
And
see
then-
Ben White in the change room, and that would be phenomenal.
Oh, no, he wouldn't. No, he wouldn't listen. No, you can't control that man.
Oh, that'd be
You can't.
unbelievable.
You
And
can't
then,
control
and then I sort of like ring get Carl Rimmer or something back in for a bit of banter, another prop as well. So good to have him back in there.
See, that was nice. I actually said the two people that were on this panel. Oh,
I would ask
You
if
carry the water, Joe.
I would ask
Oh,
you for
thank
some
you.
Ben White stories, but we're not past the watershed, so
No, definitely not.
we
And Gareth, how about you?
Well, the two lads on the screen, apart from Julian, obviously it'd be great to be back in. I'd love to see Shirley Nakalavuki come back and play, because he's a ridiculous player.
Great job.
He could drink a lot of whiskey as well. He's always a good lad to have
be
in
good in the
whiskey.
standoff then.
Huh?
I said he would be good in the standoff then.
He'd be propping that place up. He'd be keeping it cold. Another one would be Brett Sturgis. Get that boy back in there. John Graft himself. And then what would the other one have been? I had him in my head. I can't think. What was the other one?
Kai back.
I
Kai's
want
good
Julian
crack.
to coach the team, mate. I want Julian to coach.
Thank you.
Probably big James Hanks. I wouldn't mind seeing Hanksy back in there.
Nice.
He's a good lad, like a good lad to have around the club.
And sort of speaking of fitness as we were earlier, there's no Gareth. There's no place for you to hide, really, is it? Because when you get back into training, and you
It depends where my hamstring is.
Unless you're feigning injury, everything is monitored now, isn't it? Everything is measured, everything is tested. So the minute you go back, they know pretty much what you've been up to.
Yeah, they will. We'll be put straight in. Like Julian said, if there's going to be a AST testing, you'll be found out pretty quick. And everything's on a GPS, all these sorts of things. A lot of guys are actually monitoring. I know you're talking about how far we're running and those sort of things. At the minute, we've all been scheduled for the certain amount of meters we need to run at the minute. So most lads are probably hitting their targets on that. So whenever the day comes and we finally get the goal clear to come in, most guys will kind of know how far they've ran and what they're kind of capable of. And once you've done that testing, we want to be able to run certain meters when we get back. So I think, all in all, I think lads will come back in decent nick. I really do. I think just from seeing the way we're training at the minute, just from seeing the way the guys are getting on in that group, it's pushing fellas on. So I think we'll be in a good spot when we come back. Maybe just a little bit like Jesse was saying, little bits and pieces might take a few weeks to get used to playing rugby again, really. That's the main thing. And then hopefully it'll be good to go whenever we come back and get playing.
How nerve-wracking, a question for all of you, really, you've all done it. How nerve-wracking is it to come back and face those tests for the first time?
I'll start. Pretty nerve-wracking. I think when Julian said about the AST, I mean, obviously Tino knows, but it is, because it's a bit of a weird one. I think everyone, when they talk to each other, it's like, we'll be fine, be fine or whatever. But actually, intrinsically, you're actually, because effectively you want to do, you want to do yourself justice, but also you want to do the club justice as well. And I think that's the important thing. And again, it goes back to, I think, when people ask, how have the Chiefs done so well throughout, the year, because everyone wants to push each other on. Nobody wants a young one to come in and tell an oldie, oh, you're not fit enough. So I think, it is nerve-wracking, but I think because, the hard work that's obviously, as you see even through the videos and stuff at home and in this situation, boys train really hard. There's that work ethic, which is massive. And then, to go and prove yourself in terms of a training session or a test, and to get that score, and for you to actually go, yeah, I've done well there, or I've emptied the tank, it certainly puts yourself in a good light, but also the club as well.
You never want to do well in the first one.
No, it's the backup one. Second one.
That's experience that each one of us know exactly about.
Keep some in the tank for the first one.
Yeah.
Second one, then let yourself go a bit. Yeah.
Was it he just went flat out all the time?
Yeah, mate, all the time.
It's just one pace. That's why it's just one pace.
Did you get
Tugboat.
Did you do down ups in the end, or did you get to the sturdy stage where it was just a half squat to run again? Was it a half squat, Mo?
No, I did the full ones, mate. Thanks, Jules. Yeah.
Asking.
Well, we always done it, but I as Jesse said, I remember when around the Chiefs, it was always talked about. You know, the fitness bit was a given. Do you know what I mean? So we use that time that you've got effectively. You know, you don't want to spend the first 3-4 weeks or first month of the 2-month preseason of just getting guys fit. You know, everyone wants to come back in at a level, so then we can use that time productively to work in the team. You know, training, whether it's through moves, plays. But what I liked a lot about the Chiefs when I came down was a lot of our training was there was so much running in it, but there involved some sort of skill, like a ball or a game or something. So it was always fun. It wasn't run to that cone and back 50 times. It was just like, oh, he's not constantly. You're actually working on, and you're actually getting your meters in, and you know, GPS showing the good data, and it didn't hit targets topped up a bit at the end. So I was always topping up at the end, but it was one of them. It just made it more fun and gave us more time to work on, you know, the rugby environment, really, the rugby skills, rather than trying to make sure boys are fit. I think that's been a present now at the Chiefs, that everyone always comes back in a reasonably good nick to hit the ground running, really, and put us in good stead to start the season, and why they've been quite successful.
You know, we talk about teammates encouraging each other and supporting each other, and it's a team game. The fans are obviously a massive part of that as well. You know, a question for all of you again, starting with Gareth though. You know, how much have you missed that sort of interaction with the fans and the support and that being part of your life?
It is like you even go to Tesco's or something, you know, people coming up and saying well done for a game at the weekend or whatever. Surprisingly though, with the Make the Call campaign that we've been doing, and just in general on social media, like Jesse was talking about earlier, like there's a lot of people we're getting to talk to people differently, you know, like just answering different messages, sending extra maybe birthday wishes here and there. So we are sort of getting that sort of chat to people in a slight way, obviously not face to face, but it is quite nice. Like I had a phone call, was it to Georgia Park House, who had a little boy who had just got a 7-week-old dog, and I had a 20-minute conversation with these people, and you know, sitting on the phone talking to somebody that I wouldn't normally speak to for 20 minutes was quite refreshing and quite nice. And I know a lot of the lads have done all that, and obviously we want to be out and about, but it is definitely different, but at least we are still trying to, you know, it's nice to talk to other people as well sometimes.
Sure. And Matt, when you struggled with a few things, as you said earlier, when you left the game, how much were the fans part of that? Yeah,
they're huge, and like Stina said then, they still are in a way. Like I had a message just on Twitter last week saying that somebody or their mother had been self-isolating for 12 weeks even before lockdown had happened because of this COVID, and she just wanted a video message. So I sent her a video message, and I remember the fan, and it was Liz Perkin it was, and you know, I thought, well, actually, you know, she's in this for 12 weeks. It could be longer. So I just said to her, then I donate one of my old extra shirts, because, you know, and I think just even past the game, a couple of years past the game, you still can have that interaction and again spread the positivity. And you know, like I've got, you know, plenty of shirts in terms of like around here. So it's like, well, giving somebody that, you know, that sort of like bit of positivity can do so much for their day and or potentially their week, and help them get through this together. So yeah, they're a massive component to obviously professional sport, but also after the sport as well.
Sure. And Murray, we had a brief chat yesterday. You were saying that you've been doing lots of, I mean, you alluded to it earlier, but loads of networking on social media, probably more than you would have done normally.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think touch on for the fans and the community here. I mean, going into instrument, being an ex-player wise helped massively, and people wanted to meet and discuss and chat through it, what I'm doing now, and a lot of people in the property industry as well. So it's just been that ability to network and speak with them, and to go, whether it's via social media or just picking up the phone, we've got the database of all the developers and touching base with them. All got the time to do things that we probably, an industry that's so busy normally that while everyone's on lockdown, we're trying to go out there and use the time productively to communicate with all these guys and guys and girls, really just to say who we are, what we're up to, and really to to build for when we do come out there, we're in a better position to go forward as a business, really.
Sure. And we're all coping with change at the moment. Everything's changing on a day-to-day basis, and we're all having to face up to that and face those challenges. Question for Julian: going from player to coach is obviously a big change. And you go from being one of the boys in the change room, and you're still one of the boys in terms of the banter.
Still one of the boys. The banter going here is right. I come in and hang out with Tino. It's all nice. No. There is a definite transition going on there. Yeah.
Yeah, but how do you deal with that? I mean, how do you shift that mindset from I was a player, I'm no longer a player, I'm now one of the coaching staff, and I'm giving out instructions?
Well, I won't say it was easy. It was one of those ones that you've got to start to make sure that there's that separation between the I suppose the interactions you used to have as a player to now coach, because essentially you become Stino's boss or something like that to a certain point. That's how I look at it.
That's the way you want to put it in your head, boy.
No, but you've got to. You still have to make it makes me feel better. That's all that matters. This is what this is all about. Having these conversations, just making sure that everyone's aware of that.
Vent.
But it is hard when you make that transition. Like you said, you've played so many hours and so many times with these individuals. You've shared memories, you've shared moments, and you're still going to have that as a coach. But now there's that slight sort of separation where, separation is probably the wrong word. You're still all in it together. You all got common goals. You've still got all those. Sorry. Hi, darling. I know. Fantastic. Where's Willow? Having a bit of fun. Sorry about that.
Well, there's someone happy to see you, Jules.
I know, she loves me, so it's all right. At least someone in this world loves me. It's lovely.
Got his teeth in, that's why.
I told you I'm getting new teeth soon. It's going to be lovely. But there is that transition. It's not hard because, like I said, you share all these moments, and all of a sudden you're sort of trying to instill your knowledge or what you've sort of accrued over the course of 15 or so years onto these players now. But you have to make that separation. You're not there going and high-fiving. Yes, you are to a certain extent, but there is that sort of separation where now you've got to go, okay, this is what we're doing. This is, I suppose, the time to work. And now we can be jovial on that because I'm not a DOR. I'm not the heads of selection sort of decisions. But you've got to make sure that, when we're working hard. And to be fair, what I've found is the guys have been really forthcoming in that. They've made it quite easy for me to transition because they've just gone, all right, he's not a player anymore. He's a coach, so we've got to listen to him. And in most part, they do listen. Don't you, Gareth?
Like, to be fair, like I'll give it to you, Jules. I'd say at the start we kind of keeping you going a bit. I think that was kind of like the whole thing. It's still that you got to appreciate too. Like, Julian was in the changing room with us, and we had banter for a couple of years, 3 years, wherever it was. And then that transition has to happen too. So we have to understand there's boundaries with it as well. And I think, it does take, it's the same with Hayden Thomas. Like, Hayden came in. The difference is a wee bit with Hayden. He had obviously been at the club for so long, and he'd been working with the young kids coming through. And now we have a lot of young kids. So they always would have seen Hayden as that sort of a person. So, and there's a lot of new guys in who only would have known Hayden as purely a coach. Whereas in Julian's scenario is, he's only out of the game a couple of years. We've kind of had to basically take on board what he's saying. At the same time, yes, we want to have a bit of fun with him as well, because we all had banter before, but very much when he's got the respect of the lads now, that whenever he does come in and does his thing, does his meetings, all these bits and pieces, I know I probably sound like I'm taking a hand out of him a little bit here too, but he's done a very good job in a scenario that was always going to be very difficult for him, and I think he's been brilliant and a real breath of fresh air for us.
Thanks.
There you go, praise indeed, Jules. Praise indeed.
It's nice to hear.
This is being recorded, by the way, Gareth, so that's on record.
Like I said to Gareth, I've taken all the feedback along the way, sort of thing. And like you said, it's just trying to find your own way of presenting it and doing things. And not that I've changed too much. There's little bits and bobs that you do along the way and just fine tune things. But like I said, it's my job's been made easy just due to boys like Gareth and Stino. Yes, we have that still banter, but then when we're working, they respect that it's time to work and put all that sort of hard work to good use. So it's made that stuff easy.
Excellent. We've just had a question from somebody who's listening in, and they've asked me to ask each of you, what are you looking forward to most once the lockdown ends? So start with Muzza.
Oh, what am I looking forward to? I don't know. I think it's getting back into routine again, being able to go out and and to work and get into, obviously I said before, about an industry I'm quite passionate and getting back into that, and then I think it's just having normal life again. I think going to see family is going to be massive, to go back up to Scotland, see everyone, and how much you appreciate that, what you had. Now we're on lockdown, it's the little things. I think the whole world now is taking that into more consideration now when we come out the other side of it. And I think also the positivity that's also come from it all as well. I think a lot more people are being more kinder and more positive to each other. And if you look at social media, what people are doing online, raising money for the NHS. You look at the Devonport services, the guys that done the head shaves. Do you know what I mean? It's not a good look having short, balding head, but it's the guys. 30,000. There's three of us in here. Sorry.
Great bit of choice.
Yes, and you have the old guy that's holding on. You got the old guy that was walking around his garden 100 times, made 1.5 million. Do you know what I mean? Just I think a lot more positive than that whole kind of just being kinder and nice to each other and just appreciate what you've got, really, what we had beforehand as a whole world, really. And without being too looking too much, but it's just being a bit more positive and just appreciate life and what we've got and the opportunities that are out there for us when we when life can function normally, really.
And Jesse?
Yeah, I think just kind of like getting that coaching cap back out there or back on and getting out there. I think that'll be something I'm massively looking forward to. I think also I think we take for granted in terms of taking our kids out and sort of like whether it be swimming or to the park or whatever, and we're quite restricted now of where to obviously take them to keep them safe. So I'll very much be looking forward to that. And just getting back out there and sort of like interacting. I know social distancing when they do obviously take the lockdown off will probably be there to some component, but then I think everyone feel, not say awkward, and everyone doesn't feel awkward, but it's quite weird sort of like seeing somebody and then been having to be 2 meters and having to chat to them or walking out of your way just so you're looking after them and yourself. And I think I'm looking forward to that as well, to have, I think we all take that interaction of face-to-face interaction quite for granted a little bit, so I think I'm looking forward to that as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Gareth?
Simple thing is being able to jump in the car and go for lunch or something. It's it's all the same things the lads have been saying, just normality, really.
Okay, and Jules?
I suppose you can look at it. There's so much man love that goes along in a game and in a week, sort of thing. So just to be able to, and Jesse alluded to it, is just going to have that sort of interactions and that sort of the celebration when you score a try, the coming together sort of thing, and the enjoyment factor, the thrills you get from that. That's the kind of thing that you miss. You miss having a full pack Sandy Park and everyone thriving on that energy and the buzz that's in that sort of environment at the time, and the electricity that everyone's sort of showing, and tomahawk chop and everyone coming together, and that's the sort of things that you miss, those sort of buzzes that you get just from a match day experience as well.
Sure. We've got another question here, which is about banter. Somebody's saying that banter is obviously a key part of your relationships, and it's great to see you sort of all taking the mickey and having a laugh, and that obviously keeps your spirits up. Does it ever hurt?
Jules?
Oh, it hurts. It hurts. But these guys know my wife too. I get it worse at home than I do at the club sometimes. You know what I mean? That's the other thing I missed is just away trips. Away trips are amazing. You go a nice hotel, a nice night away, good food. So looking forward.
Julian first arrived, he had a full set of hair.
I did, yeah, 100%.
Full head of hair, and now look at him. No teeth. You know what I mean?
I came really good looking, and then I decided to sort of go down the Jason Statham, style, and really making that my own as well. So it's quite well.
Matt and Muzz, do you miss that banter now you're not part of the, just involved in the club so closely?
Muzz has got a song.
Yeah, you missed a bit of it. It got a bit repetitive. But,
he does have a song. Yeah, you're right.
And we still,
you do.
we still sing it.
We still sing that song. Yeah.
Well, my 3-year-old sings it a lot, but we'll leave that there. But no, yeah, you do miss a bit of the banter and that. You see the guys, you maybe not get away with some of it in the real world, but the industry I'm in now, there's good banter between that with the guys I work with and stuff as well. In the industry we're in, there's days out, and we tend to a lot of networking, a lot of going out on nice golf days in the summer. Really looking forward to getting back into them and having a good bit of banter with them, and taking some of the banter from the rugby side into that industry has always been, it's given me the fix really from what I've missed.
Do you actually work? Because every time I call you, you're on the golf course. It's just
yeah, that's all right. You do look.
it's just on the
It's a Friday, lads. It's a Friday. It's all about networking. See, it's all about networking Friday. Normally, sometimes a bit of golf, but you got you got to learn. You got to adapt. I mean, you could just get a defence script off Rob Baxter like Jules.
Jess, what about you? Do you miss it?
Yeah, I do. I think when this is great to be here and sort of even having the banter with. I know Jules is probably the joke at the moment, but sorry. But you do miss it because it is part and parcel of rugby, and I think if you say about it, does it hurt? I think if you're getting banter thrown at you, and it does hurt, you're probably in the wrong sort of profession, or you're looking at it the wrong way. When you think about it, if your banter's flying at you left, right, and centre, you're actually quite a likeable character, apart from Jules, obviously. Sorry, mate. But no, if you're getting banter thrown at you all the time, it's because you're a likeable character. Because he's quick on, but you've just got to laugh it off, and then effectively, if somebody's giving you some banter, then throw some back out there. And I think everyone has that level type playing field. But yeah, I do miss it massively. But I've got a few groups on the WhatsApp and whatever that you can just chuck a few things in, and I still get called skinny legs and all that sort of stuff. So I'm happy with it. So.
And we got one. This is a great question to end on. Actually, I'm finding business tough at the moment. I'd like to ask each of your panelists to give me an inspiring and rallying short speech. What would you say to this person just to motivate them and to help them keep going? So let's start with Julian as a coach.
As a coach, you've gone straight to.
Please don't start as a coach.
Defensively, we talk about always having your heads up and just being positive. I suppose that's the only way. Mate, I can use my defensive skill, mate.
I wrote down beside you.
Hey? I said, "Hey, we've got my phone. Just gonna." This is the one. Rob's just texted me and just said,
"Oh, good. I'm glad." Do you have FaceTime as well?
Yeah, I've got Rob on the side just in the case. There's this thing on it. It's almost like my review. You got to stay positive in these sort of situations. Jesse, all the boys have sort of alluded to it. Jamini, everyone's going to be faced with challenges and different challenges through life. It's just making sure that you keep a clear head, and you get some direction under your belt, and you follow it through. Stay positive, clear head. Things will come good, and crack on.
Excellent, Gareth, with your captain's band on, what would you be saying?
I would just be saying similar message to Julian, sort of saying on the positivity. Look, where you're at the minute, you've kind of maybe sat down. Where do you want to be when you come out of this? Do you know what I mean? Where can we be? And you sort of embrace every opportunity that you see. This as an opportunity. If you're at home, you've got an opportunity to maybe get yourself into a better position physically, if that's what you want to do, or mentally. In terms of business, is there anything I can do sitting at home that could potentially, whenever the day comes, can I work from home? Can I do these bits and pieces? Am I saving money somewhere else along the line because I'm not at work? You know, loads of things you can kind of look at and go, actually, you know, I can adapt, and whenever the day comes that I come back to work, I'm in a more stronger position. I've made more contacts, whatever the business may be, or I've come up with another idea that potentially would be useful in your field. So, you know, take every day for what it is. Positivity is a huge message, I think, at the minute, and make sure when you come out of this, you're in a better situation than you were when you went in.
Excellent, thank you. Matt?
Yeah, so my one would be control the controllables. So there's no point in worrying about what you can't control. We can only worry what we can control. So it's exactly what Stino's just said. Can't control what the government are going to say to us. We can control what we do around our, you know, in our own home, or what food we're going to, you know, bring in. So control the controllables.
Super. Muzza, finally to you.
Yeah, I was touching before, so use this time effectively. You know, it's isolation, you know, not in hibernation. It's just about putting that time into practice. If it means, you know, learning a new skill or something to strengthen yourself within that business, that would adapt you for your, you know, so you're better when you come out the other end. And I think the big thing is just to talk. You know, I mean, you've got the tools and the technology now to pick up the phone to somebody that might be a peer in that industry, or, you know, somebody at the top of the game, and that they'll pick up the phone, and probably more so now we're in a position to talk to you, and I've got time to sit and give you advice in that area, and I wouldn't be afraid about picking up the phone and speaking to somebody and saying who you are and what you're about and how you want to get better. So when we do come out the other end, we're all in a better position, really.
Great stuff. That's fantastic. Well, that's flown by. We've come to the end, guys. I'd like to thank you all for your contribution today. I've learned an awful lot. One of the key things being turn your phone off at the beginning of the meeting. And I'm sure everybody watching has really enjoyed it. We're doing another one next week, next Wednesday. It's a different shaped ball. I've got Julian Tagg, chairman of Exeter City, joining me next week, and John Roeder, who's a sports commentator, often heard on Match of the Day. Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate that. Have a great day. Have a great week, and look forward to catching up soon.
Thanks very much, guys.
Cheers.
Thank you.